Coming up, we do a bit of cleaning. Don't drop it.
There.
And how to ruin your back.
I feel like a Twizzler. Aloha! Behind me on this lift sits Project Marseille, a 1991 E31 850i with the glorious 12-cylinder engine and a 6-speed manual gearbox. This car spent 10 years in a garden in south of France, which means that the underbody of this car, the chassis that is, looks positively nasty. And in this episode, we are going to completely transform it. In the previous episode, we built this beautiful engine, and I also had to do something that I absolutely hated, and that is I had to grind the water pump impeller of the M70 pump in order to fit it to the M73 block. As you can see, the water pump is missing, and that's because I couldn't live with that.
I talked to another E31 restorer in Germany who's been doing these hybrid builds for over 10 years, and he always grinds the impeller and never had any issues. So it does work, but I simply couldn't leave it like that. I sent a new pump to Topmar Motorworks, and they are going to precisely CNC machine 4mm from the pump impeller. More on that in the next episode. Now back to the chassis.
So here's what we're working with. The chassis of this car is thankfully without any rust, which is a huge plus, but it is very dirty, as you can see. It is very grimy, oily, and we need to address all of this before we can put the engine back in. If we go along the way here, down the car, it's just pretty nasty. So right now we are going to drop the entire subframe, because that too also needs to be completely refurbished. Then we're going to remove all of the covers and heat shields and whatnot.
And then the car is going on the trailer and off for dry ice blasting.
So let's get to wrenching and get this rear end out. First, let's disconnect the wheel speed sensor and the brake pad wear sensor. Right, this came apart. These are not the same, so that's good. We can't mix them up, right? Yep. The wheel speed sensor on the left side. We're going to chop off the brake line and then use a screw to plug it. That is the easiest way to make sure no dirt will enter the brake line. Let's remove this heat shield. Unbolt the control arm. That was probably never removed. Zinc coated. Now we're gonna jump inside so we can disconnect the parking brake cables. I haven't seen the inside of this car for about a year. How sad is that? So we have 10mm nuts here, which I'm first going to mark so I roughly know the position. So a 9mm nut. Loosen it up. Okay, that's the nuts removed. Should be able to pull the cables out now. There it is. We can get the table in place now. Now I gotta lower the car. So now I gotta support the subframe. I'm thinking one here and then one for the diff there. It is supported in the back and the front as well. So we should be good to remove the subframe bolts. Jeez, please don't snap. Okay. There we go. One beautiful bolt out. All 4 bolts are the same length. Bolts are out. Okay, now we can slowly lower it. Just looking to make sure everything is disconnected. Can remove the springs. Okay, that's thing. Oh, there's one connector here for the diff. That's disconnected. Ow! Pretty easy, huh? The chassis is in pretty good condition. The big beast is out. I'm gonna roll this out of the way. And we're gonna take this completely apart a bit later. We have to continue stripping down the chassis for ice blasting. Next, the fuel tank. So we have to jump back into the car and disconnect the lines on the top and the connectors from the fuel pump, the rear seat. Now we need to unplug the connectors from the fuel pump. Okay, that's done. Now the fuel sender unit on the other side. There we go. It's a nice bucket seat. Now we can go back underneath of the car. 2 Fuelio lines here. A beautifully crusty return fuel line. This plastic line is off. So we have 2 lines here that connect to the fuel tank that we need to disconnect. There we go. Oh man, this hose is really brittle. All right. Now you can see the second one. It's the second one disconnected. And lastly, the big guy here. So let's use a bit of compressed air there. There's a single hose on this car that's still pliable. Now we can unbolt the fuel tank. Oh, these are all connected. Okay, the fuel tank is now supported. Now we can remove the last strap. Slowly. Can't remember how much fuel we have in the tank. Hopefully not a lot. It's coming down. And that's the fuel tank removed. Now I'm gonna close all of the openings of the fuel tank so we don't get crap inside. Okay. Right. Well, the fuel tank is pretty light. All of these straps, they need to be powder coated. Now you can remove the fuel filters. Have a look. The chassis is in great condition. Dirty, but no rust. A tiny bit of surface rust right over there, but nothing major. The subframe mounting points are in excellent shape. This is gonna look really, really good once cleaned up. Let's continue the teardown. Wonderful. This is all trash. There it is. It is out now. And the neck is finally out. Let's see if we can get this out as well. There we are. Oh, wonderful. This is a big problem. This stuff is discontinued. Can't longer buy a brand new. This is sound deadening, I believe, / heat shield for the transmission tunnel. So we're gonna have to come up with a solution there. So let's start removing this crispy stuff. I don't think we can remove this in one piece. All right, oh, there it is. Somewhat in one piece, so I can still make a template, hopefully. Chassis in great condition. The fender liner. That's the pressure accumulator that's bad that we need to replace. And the ABS pump. We actually have a fully refurbished one. A really nice subscriber from the States did that. The pump looks magnificent, but all in due time. Now we're gonna remove hood sound deadening. As you can see, it's falling apart. And I'm not sure if a new one is available. Wonderful. Let's remove the headlights. Carefully unclip the connectors. This is all very, very brittle. The air filter box. It's gonna take forever to put this car back together by myself because I have to clean and refurbish everything along the way. Man, look how much crap we have here. The ignition coil, and this bracket here needs to be welded again. The PS tank, line here. Have you ever seen a power steering reservoir with 4 lines going to it? And every single one of those lines is welded itself. Let's go. There's one. Oh, there's another one. Wonderful. Doesn't it? Oh, nope, sorry. There's another one on the bottom. Are we at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines? 6. Now get off. Jeez. Yay. The PS, the hydraulic fluid reservoir is disconnected. I'm gonna remove the AC condenser. Everything is just crumbling into pieces. This is ridiculous. Oh no, look, that was the wire. It's completely gone. Completely fell apart. Gonna have to replace that connector there. Then we have 2 AC lines. Now we need to disconnect them. Alright, it's one. Oh, there. Well, it is out. The condenser does look in good condition. Although I would love to replace it, but I'm not sure if a new one is available or not. As with everything with this car. I had to unclip these from the bottom. That's the ruined connector. Now this can come out finally. Now we're gonna remove the power steering reservoir. And it looks in great shape actually. So this should be reusable. All right, let's remove the hydraulic lines. We can remove this AC line as well. Great. Let's remove the heater core valve here. Like this. Okay. The post removed. Connector. Alright. So it didn't break into a million pieces. That's good. Let's connect the lines here. Wait, there's another connector. Excellent. This remaining piece of junk here. Let's remove the hydraulic pressure regulator as well. That's pretty much everything I want to remove at this point. It's disassembled enough to the point where one can clean this engine bay nicely. It looks properly disgusting, which means it's going to look brilliant once it's nice and clean. So right now I'm going to close all of the open lines. So once the cleaning process starts, no dirt can enter them. And then a bit later, Valeria is coming by and we need to load this car onto the trailer, which should be fun without axles and whatnot. Valeria just arrived with the trailer. Fantastic. Okay.
Valerio is a properly good friend, always willing to help whenever I call him. If you need a reliable person to buy, inspect and transport a car in Europe, he's your man. You'll find his contact in the description.
We are pretty much done. The car is successfully tied to the trailer. 2 spots in the front and 2 spots in the back, so it's not gonna go anywhere. Valeria did a really good job here. So once we get to Stuttgart, it's gonna immediately go in the lift and just lift it off the trailer and then transport it back the same way. So quite happy with everything. The man of the hour.
Ah, the dry ice blasting. If I had a shilling for every comment that said I should get a dry ice blasting machine, I still wouldn't be able to afford one. The problem is not just getting the machine itself, you effectively need a separate room or a booth to use it. When blasting with dry ice, the removed dirt has to go somewhere, and these particles that come off will fly around at high speed. In other words, if I were to do it in my shop, every single millimeter of it would be covered in thick dust and grime. On top of that, it's extremely loud and you need a huge powerful air compressor. This is why I had to transport it to a different location. This was my first experience with dry ice blasting and my expectations were high. Dry ice isn't as magical as most people tend to think. It's very effective at removing dry dirt, but it struggles to remove and clean greasy and oily areas. Here, manual cleaning and degreasing are still necessary to achieve optimal results. Getting the E31 back in the shop was an ordeal as a certain broken Maserati was in the way. It took nearly a whole day to sneak past the Quattro broken with just a couple of millimeters of clearance.
So now, forward is this side. Go.
Once finally back on the lift, I had a chance to inspect it, and those high expectations I had fell short. It was a lot cleaner than before, but not clean enough. As not everything can be cleaned with dry ice, it was supposed to be detailed and cleaned thoroughly, but that didn't happen. A lot of grease was still stuck to the chassis. Many areas were left completely untouched. Cosmoline in the engine bay wasn't removed, and it still looked, well, very much dirty. The amount of effort that it took to transport the car 3 hours away and to get it back in this unfinished state was disappointing. I would have achieved better results had I cleaned it by hand and not moved it from the lift, and actually saved time. Anyway, the show must go on, so I deployed good old-fashioned elbow grease and went over the entire chassis again. In all honesty, it looks now far better than before, but I'm not fully satisfied. I feel like the results after dry ice blasting should have been better. There are still a lot of connectors, pipes, plastic, and for example the hood hinge and other areas that should have come out looking like new had more time and effort was spent with dry ice, which is what I didn't get with the particular place I went to. I'll try to revisit this again, particularly the engine bay, to remove the Cosmo line and achieve a result that's more on par with the squeaky clean engine that we built. And of course, the entire underside will be rust protected and coated before reassembly.
Let's do some mechanical work. I want to overhaul the brake master cylinder and the hydraulic booster. So we need to withdraw the brake fluid. Still quite a lot left in the clutch part of the reservoir. So get ready for brake fluid. Yep, disconnect the clutch line. Got some water here. Now you're gonna disconnect the brake lines. It's one disconnected. And that's the second line disconnected. So that's not the original master cylinder to this car. I know that for a fact because they're normally silver. So we need to verify that this is actually the correct master cylinder for this car. Okay. I just confirmed, indeed, this is not the original master cylinder for the E31. This is actually for the E30. E30 has a steel body, this extra connector here, while the E31 has aluminum body. So we're not going to be able to rebuild this. And I want to get the proper original E31 master cylinder. So this is going in the parts bin, and I need to order a new master cylinder. Let's remove the brake booster. Disconnect this line on the top. Okay, let's continue. All right, now we need to jump inside and bolt it. There isn't much that I can film here. There's just no space. But I need to remove the plastic underneath of the steering wheel. Remove this piece. Then this piece. And here we are. We have 4 nuts to remove and then unclip it from the brake pedal. Oops, I accidentally pressed the brake pedal and the plunger popped out. And the brake fluid went everywhere. Yep, not the brake fluid, the hydraulic fluid. Okay, there we are. Jesus, this is so uncomfortable. All right, that's all of the nuts removed and my back completely ruined. I feel like a Twizzler. And it's out. Remove the line. All right. Now we need to remove this cone here, which is held in place by this anti-tamper screw. You gotta be careful with this because there's a big spring behind this cone and this will just shoot out. So I'm gonna press this with the towel in my hand and then slowly release it. And there it is. See? That's one big spring. Okay, I gotta go spill its guts. This came out. Now I need to disassemble it further to remove this nut here. I'm gonna use a piece of masking tape to mark the position of the nut. Oh. Marker. More fluid. And that's the brake booster fully disassembled. Okay, let's clean it up a little bit. I thoroughly cleaned the inside and the outside of the brake booster housing. The inner surface, it's in perfect condition. Nice and shiny and no scoring marks anywhere. You probably can't see, but Trust me, it's good. This is the rebuild kit that I got from Max Lumens from the States. I believe this should be everything we need to rebuild this brake booster. And this comes with the upgraded aluminum cone. Alright, so there is one seal here in the front. That will be this one. Let's carefully replace the seal in the front. There it is. Now I'm gonna clean that there. Okay, I'm gonna change gloves. So now I need to carefully insert the new seal. Paying attention to the orientation. Goes in like that. Gonna use a bit of hydraulic fluid to lube it up and get it to slide easier. Boom, it's in. Okay, so that's the front seal replaced. Now we can put this on the side. Let's grab this one here. Okay, I'm gonna go rinse this out with brake cleaner. Let's see if I can remove this. There's one seal here that wasn't supplied. Well, that's a bummer. So there's a plunger inside that we need to pull out as well. There it is. So this part here is not removable. So we have two O-rings here that we need to replace. Carefully remove old O-rings. And two removed. Clean this up again. Grab the new O-rings and carefully pop them in place. Make sure the O-ring is seated correctly. And that one is done. The small one here, unfortunately, wasn't supplied in the kit. Looks like I got lucky and I found the correct one in my universal O-ring kit here. And these O-rings are resistant to acid, brake fluid, petrol, and oil. Heat resistant up to 160 degrees Celsius. So this should get the job done just fine. How lovely. We can actually test it here. So let's oil it up. Yes. I can't believe I got that lucky. Fits perfectly. And now two O-rings here, or actually four. I'm going to cut this one off. That's the first Teflon ring, I believe. Okay, gonna clean this with brake cleaner. This is nice and clean. First, the O-rings. Now the Teflon seal, which we can't lube up. Careful with this one. Beautiful. Pop this spring back in, then grab this plunger here, cover this in oil, and pop this in. Okay, that's done. Now you can lube up the inside of the housing and pop this in. So I need more lube here. So careful with this seal, don't tear it. Just carefully guide it around the sleeve here. So be very careful with the seal in the front because it's easy to tear it. It's fully out. Now this thing here. Next this, we need this washer here and the spring. There's an O-ring here, but we are not using that. Gonna go clean the spring and the washer. So here's the upgraded aluminum cone. This O-ring goes here, and we need to lube it up. And then lube up the surface inside as well. And this washer goes here. Spring here, and now we need to put this back together. So we're gonna go to the vise over there. The spring goes in. Don't think I can use my hand, can I? Okay. That's it. That was a lot easier than I anticipated. So give this a nice good twist. Fantastic. Okay, that's working as it should. Now we have this rubber cap here. Make sure it's installed correctly. Beautiful. And then the nut. I'll line it up with the marks that I made. Lastly, the plunger, and careful here, the orientation does matter. This is how it came out, and that's how I'm putting it back in. And that's it. The hydraulic brake booster has been rebuilt. Satisfying job, this, I gotta say.
That'll do it for this episode. In the next one, we'll start working on getting the engine and transmission back in the car. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.